Hello one, hello all, it's the red-eye ghost of them all, Caspa in the flesh, and it's time for a review of Uchis, ORQUIDEAS. Uchis is a Latin pop artist, and this is her fourth studio album, coming with elements of reggaeton, bosuela, Afropiano, and dance pop. Also, one thing I noticed too is how, with this being her fourth album, this stylistically mirrors her second one. And another thing I noticed as well is how her last album pretty much mirrored her debut album, which is a fantastic album that you should definitely check out, as both are soul-centric, but the first one I would say was more psychedelic soul, hypnagogic, with funk and a lot of dreamy elements to it, and a lot of great concepts, a lot of great melodies, and again, check it out if you haven't. And unfortunately, I didn't review the last one because I'm a fool, but back to this one. I did enjoy the last one. I just felt like there were some inconsistencies within the writing, some production choices, some feature choices, but still a good album, just not one of my favorites of that year. But I did enjoy the blissful elements, and her singing has absolutely improved throughout every album. But back to the sister album, which is a reggaeton style album, but back to the album, which is very reggaeton centric when it's at its high points, with the sister album being mostly Spanish lyrics. And I do perceive this to be a continuation of her sophomore album, which, true, I was not in love with, but I did enjoy. There were definitely bangers on that, but I didn't really care for some of the mixing choices or the features that landed on there. But now we have this album, which I perceive to be the sequel album of the sophomore album. As far as this album goes, as far as production goes, as far as sound goes, it's definitely explosive at points, it's definitely more colorful, a robust helping of reggaeton, and dance pop as well, and with a stunning, groovy, pumping opener, Cómo, that feels like a Spanish nocturnal dreamy dance party. And Cali's falsettos are so enchanting on this, along with these infectious chants, Cómo, que más. And I love the switches with the rhythms. It's just a banger to set this album off. There's also the hot, sexy, pillowy, and tropical Diosa, which has great grooves, beautiful rising strings. I love the momentum with the drums, I love the bright horn hits, and Temata, love the intimate Spanish guitar strums, accompanied by these elegant, dramatic strings that you'd probably hear in like a Spanish ballroom, hand percussion, and I love the passionate melodies that Cali brings here, that are followed by these beautiful backing vocals that are so serene, so captivating, and I am just so enchanted by them. And there's also Tu corazón es mío. And this is an absolutely heavy, passionate ballad from Cali about being absolutely in love with this person, adoring them, giving them affirmation they will get endless love and support no matter what the situation is, even when times get hard. And I love Cali's vocal melodies on here, how they just soar through the track, how intimate and gorgeous the instrumentation is. It just feels like I'm just floating in her love. And easily her best written ballad, by far. After this, with the exception of Helidito, which to me comes off as a very bland leftover from her last album. I mean, I do love a good soul cut, but it's not really that good, and it interrupts the flow of the party, and I just want to party. The first banger, Muñekita, has these speed changes, crazy rhythms that I absolutely love, and on this track, everybody eats. But man, the El Alpha feature, oh my god, probably the most unhinged verse I've probably heard on this whole entire album. And probably the most creative here, and I love it, the chicka 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 cha, chicka 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 cha. And how it just coalesces well with the slow-mo groove of the production. And Cali delivers a very cocky, in-your-face verse, along with JT of City Girls, who absolutely savages here and gets bilingual on this track, and sounds very respectful to the culture and absolutely savages in the process. Which some artists could definitely learn from. Looking at you, Drake. Following that is Labios Mordidos with a pounding reggaeton beat. Love Cali's melodies here that just float through the beat, delivering a tight rap verse. Love the sirens on the back end. With this troubling bass, great grooves throughout. Carol G is also great here. Great banger track here, and I love the syncopated guitars that are on the outro of this track. And then we have No Hey La Parte 2. Love the nocturnal synth horns, the sticky hook. Love the nocturnal synth horns, the sticky refrains. The stop and go groove is great, and the marriage of synth pop and reggaeton is absolutely fantastic on this track, and I feel it goes off without a hitch. And we have the closer, which is probably the most hard-hitting epic closer Cali has ever done, which is a 2-track closer that starts with bright Spanish electric pianos. Love the sliding bass. I love the sax arpeggiating over the hand percussion. And I love Cali's soaring, passionate vocals. And the tempo fantastically speeds up and miraculously transitions into the next track beautifully with this explosive, bright, effervescent burst of instrumentation and exuberant vocals from Cali, really ending off the album with a bang. Now, as far as low points go, there are more than a handful, unfortunately. The first leg is pretty spotty, basically due to how bland the production choices are, some features that didn't exactly match up, and also too, a lot of this album is soaked in reverb, and it just kind of kills it for me. Like on Mi Pongo Loco. That's honestly how I feel about the 4th track here, which is my least favorite on the album, which is a good tune, but way too washed out in reverb on this one. It just strikes me as background music that just plays as you're trying on clothes at the mall. And the 2nd track, I do enjoy the disco aesthetic here, but I feel the track does meander, and I do feel that Peso Pluma is an odd fit for this type of instrumental. And at the midpoint is definitely an odd change of pace with this atmospheric bland R&B cut, Young, Rich, in Love. And Perdeste did have potential, but just cut too short, too scant of a track. So while I did enjoy this album, and easily some of Cali's best tracks land on this album, there are duds that land on this album too. I just feel like this album is not as consistent as I would like it to be. I do feel if Cali were to come through with consistent reggaeton tracks and get more creative as she did here, and vocally kill it as she did here, and tone down the reverb, this could have been a great album. But I don't hate this album. I feel it's a decent one. I just wish production was consistently great. I wish the features were consistently great. Other than that, I'm feeling a 3.5 out of 5 on this album. I enjoyed it, and that's how I'm feeling about it. If you've checked this album out, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? And that's it. Caspa, Uchis, ORQUIDEAS. I hope I'm saying that right. Till we meet again.